Hello there, and as you've already seen, it's time for another Master League official tournament, Scorched Earth 2. And now just a quick reminder of how we actually got here, and it's thanks to you guys voting on it, or the ones that are patrons rather. We had the Tournament of Tournaments putting 8 tournament concepts against one another, and Scorched Earth drew level in the grand final against Allies versus Axis. And that is why we now have a combination of the two. We're going to take 16 of the best players in the world and divide them up into Axis players or Allies players. They'll play each other in groups of 8, playing 4 games each, so that's playing each other once on some fantastic maps. The maps will start off in autumn, and then after the first weekend, winter will come. So quickly to talk you through the groups. So we'll do it so the best players play each other at the end. So that'll be like Seed 1 versus Seed 2 at the end of the day, that first day. And then the second day will be the quarterfinals. I'm not going to say just how they progress from this group phase to the 8 players in the quarterfinals quite yet, but you can probably guess how that works. I kind of want the players to play their damn hardest in every single game, and I want to see every single game completed in that group phase. But yeah, the quarterfinals will carry on where we left off. We're going to have Axis again versus Allies in a best of 3. And then the following weekend, winter will come. Commander Terminator will start. And these gorgeous autumn maps will become blessed by General Winter. And it's going to be really cool. We're going to have a map veto process at every stage of the tournament because, of course, the brutality of Allies versus Axis means we'll have a new map every game. We won't need to rerun the same map in a series. So yeah, it's going to have vetoes, and so if you want to go and read how that works, you can go and check out the brackets. But before we do, let's have a look at the maps. These are the 8 maps involved. It's Amelie Fields, Bocage, Rework, Briansk Forest, Canal Park, Champs-Élysées, Faymonville Rework, Mill Road, and Nexus. So some beautiful maps there. And I'll quickly show you now just how the maps are looking. These are the autumn ones. We've got Amelie Fields looking gorgeous in autumn, as you may have already seen, actually. Now we've got Bocage Rework. K-Pen's put a lot of work into taking what people like about his map and don't like and made a much better version of it. Bocage Rework autumn and winter will be shown. Now this is Briansk Forest winter. A lot of players like this map from the map competition earlier this year. Well, now we've got winter and autumn versions. We've got the famous Canal Park, as you've seen in that intro video. We now have a winter version, probably the most gorgeous map in Company of Heroes history. And Nexus Autumn, which just looks absolutely wonderful in itself. There's loads more to be seen, and that's just a sample of them. Now let's go over to who's actually signed up for this event thus far. Now the players, by the way, this is the 27th of November. They've got 3 more days to sign up. We'll end it at the end of this month. And then they'll have one chance to swap their sides because I'll reveal who's Axis and who's Allies. But I'm now going to reveal who the players are that, have signed up thus far. And we're looking at some very famous names. So you might have already just seen Love Nest, but we've got some familiar players. We've got Rising Stars in Orange Pest Inca Una. We've got the World Champion Isilda. And then, as I said, Love Nest has signed up. Von Ivan, Nagano, of course, as ever. We've got fan favourites like Alperm, Baoliang, Twisted Tutsi, but also Devem returns to tournament action and Von Asten. So really exciting. I can reveal that more players have signed up as Allies than Axis at this point in time. And as it's a 16-player tournament, we've got 24 responses at this point in time. All I can say to everyone that wants to play is you've got to improve your Allies and Axis ranks in auto match. And considering you only are signing up as one of the two, you have half the work to do than you usually would. So you've got 3 days now to really grind those ranks and get them as high as possible in time for seeding. So yeah, the last thing I want to show you, not just the brackets, not just the maps, not the sign-ups. I've done some work on an idea that's been floating around for a while. And that idea is player cards. Not player cards, trading cards, in fact. And the reason it's green is because it filters through to the live tournament stream, and before a game I'll show you both players' cards, and yeah, it's going to be really cool. Let me talk about how the cards work themselves. So as you can see, Von Ivan here It's got his vital stats along the top, a little bit of info about him, and then these stats down the bottom. You've got strategy, the ability to outthink your opponent, basically. That encompasses build orders, preparation, game understanding, that kind of thing. Then control. This is basically micro mechanics, but it's also the skill and ability to actually use your army and use your mouse and keyboard to your full advantage in the Company of Heroes setting. So it's not like traditional RTS, it is specific to Company of Heroes. We've got offense and defense. Now these are part of the same spectrum. Offense is the idea of being risky and aggressive and going for the kill. Defense is the idea of being patient and controlled in your approach, and it's often that you can put players in one of the two camps or a varying degree of either. And then you've got some players that are a bit more well-rounded. And as you can see, Von Ivan is very much offensive but very little defensive. And then resolve, well, think of this as your X factor. This is your ability to win a tournament. Composure, determination, longevity, and consistency. The ability to win tournaments, as it says there. Should probably expand that. There you go. Make it bigger. Perfect. Now, I'm going to go through the top 20 or so of these people. Von Ivan is in that top 20. And I'm going to start with the worst player, actually, which is, of course, me. That's how I'd look. Actually, I have a really good understanding of the game. So I give myself a 2 out of 10. I'm quite aggressive, but other than that, I'm rubbish. Now, let's go to actual tournament players. And we'll start off with familiar face in Alpern. Now, he represents the lowest card I'm going to show today, but he's a very, very good player. And the reason he's the lowest is because I'm mostly doing the top auto match players, and Alpern is formidably above average, and only that. So he gets a solid 7 out of 10 for most stats. And I do think sometimes his build orders are a bit wacky and not that effective, so he gets docked a mark for strategy. It's a very simple card, is Alpern's. Let's move up through the ranks and go through some of the ones I have pictures for and stuff. And we're going to start off with Orange Pest. Now this is looking a bit healthier. His micro, or his control, is an excellent stat. It's his most powerful ability. Just lacks a little bit of resolve and defense, but yeah, he's a damn good player. And that's pretty much what it says there. Let's go on to somebody else. We'll now go next to Barton. Of course, won a famous World Championship and a few other tournaments. He had great strategic build orders, and also he never gave up in tournament games. He kept on going, and that's why he got some of his most famous wins. Moving on from Barton, you're next on your screen going to see a very familiar player in Helping Hands, who gets an 8.2 rating. And this is mostly due to his excellent micro and strategy, because back in the day, 2016 year, he was a beast. He thought of so many cool strategies, and he had excellent micro at the time, very fast. And as always, his defense has been excellent in Company Heroes. Moving on from him, we also have Von Asten with the same rating. Just let down by his resolve. Von Asten could have been one of the best players of all time. He just didn't quite have the mentality when he needed it. He's, by his own admission, a little bit more mature these days, so maybe he could make a better go of this tournament. We'll have to wait and see. We've already seen Von Ivan. We'll next go to Hezulin. Of course, winner of many tournaments back in the day, mostly 2014 era. He's got incredible stats, just lacking a little bit of strategy and micro relative to the very best. But he makes up for it with one of the very rare double 9 ratings in both offense and defense. He was basically an incredibly good player. It's as simple as that, and he very rarely was bettered. So an 8.6 rating for Hezulin. We'll next go to Jove, who also gets an 8.6. I don't have a photo of him. I don't know when he was born. He's so mysterious. But he is a very, very, very good player. And defense was his best stat. One of the few 10s you're going to see in these listings. Well, we're going to start seeing more, but we'll start off with him. Next, you've got aecohmatt, who gets another 10. And that this time we have actually got a bit of a better card. We've got a photo for him. And that's, of course, he has the best micro ever seen in Company Heroes history. It's literally that simple. Resolve lacks because his longevity was not good enough. Because, well, it's not good enough. He just couldn't find the time to play big tournaments all the time. But he's a damn good player with really good strats, really good offense, and incredible micro. Next, after aecohmatt, let's go on and find our first... Oh, this is another 8.6. Talisman. Now, Talisman... And you need to change this because it's not control, it's more defensive. He's the best defensive player Company Heroes ever saw. And that's what I meant by control when I was wording him. But his defense was incredible. His patience was formidable. He would outlast you every time. And that's why his offense is quite low, because he wouldn't go for the jugular. His resolve is high, and he is a one-tournament man. He won one tournament. It happened to be the biggest tournament we ever had, so it's why he gets a very high rating. Now then, next player is Dave, who gets another 8.6. Don't know enough about him, but I did actually consult loads of top players in the creation of these stats, and it's why his offense got a 10. He was one of those dynamic offenders in the game. He really went for it, and that's why he gets a rare 10 there. Now we're going to start going up finally. We're going to get to our first 8.8. It's the first ever world champion of Company of Heroes. I don't know why it says Kimbo Madwipe there for his card. We have to give Aimstrong a nickname. The first best in the world. The first best. That's a bit cheesy, isn't it? Let's just call him Godstrong. Aim Strong. That'll do. We'll call him Aim Strong. I don't think he ever had a nickname. That'll do. We'll just go with that. That'll be fine. Anyway, one of the best players ever. A double world champion. The first world champion for both Co 1 and Co 2. And he was definitely the prototype for the Love Nests and Isildurs of the world that followed. They perfected what he did, but when back in the day, 2013-14, he was the most studied strategist of all time. His replay threads on game replays are legendary for that reason. People just used to sit down, have a nice cold beer and study Aimstrong's games. Next we have Nagano, who gets another 8.8 rating because of his incredible longevity, his amazing resolve in tournaments, getting so many second places in big tournaments recently. He's also won 3 majors and 7 other tournaments. Also probably one of the best 2v2 players of all time. Incredible player. Moving on, we now find Kimbo, another 8.8. He's a pioneer in cutthroat tactics, very much so, gets you on retreat, and he actually started a few ways to play the game from a micromechanics standpoint. He built in a few ways that were copied off by every other player nearly, and he was a very influential player for that reason. So yeah, his offense is a 10, his resolve is a 9, he's been there and he's done it all. A fantastic and prolific player. Next, we're now going to get to the final 4. And this is somebody that... No, final 3, actually. So this is kind of like the best 3 Company Heroes players of all time, bar none. And it's what order do you have them? We know it's going to be Isildur, Devem, and Love Nest, right? And the order based on these stats, and based off consulting many other players, is that Love Nest is your first 9 rating, the German giant. And to be honest, it was just based on an analysis of how he plays. His control is an 8 due to obviously, no hotkey usage. He's very controlled, is Love Nest, in how he plays. He's very low APM, but he gets the job done. It's more strategy. And if game sense was a stat, his game sense would be 9 or a 10, but we had to limit how many stats we had. His defense, of course, is fantastic, and his offense isn't too far behind. But, of course, one of the best resolves of all time, so a 9 rating there. And then the guy that's won more tournaments than any other person, 3 World Championships, 7 majors, 6 other, it's Devem, of course, with the first triple 10 rating in the game, only let down by his defense and somewhat his strategy, which isn't quite up to the standards of his micromechanics and offense. But you don't win that many tournaments without 10 out of 10 resolve. And finally, after consulting everyone, we all reckon that Isildur is likely the greatest Company Heroes player in his prime that's ever been seen. His prime has now lasted longer than anyone else's. He's won 2 World Championships and 4 majors in the last year and a half alone. So it's just insane. And the way he's done it is with incredible micromechanics, amazing defense, great resolve, and his strategy and offense isn't too bad either. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I think it's been interesting. I hope you're looking forward to Master League Scorched Earth 2, which will be coming onto your screens in the middle 2 weekends of December, just before Christmas, an early present. The prize pool for this tournament is going to be pretty good. It's going to be $800 for the winner, down to $50 for 8th place, so in increments there. And all I can do is urge you to become a Patreon and pledge your $10 a month if you want to see more tournaments like this one. 2022 is going to be a very interesting year indeed. Thank you for watching, and see you very soon.